one of the things I want to talk about, we talked about the one holy apostolic church, but we didn't mention the word Catholic. So I would like for you to address what that means.
Okay. I'll tell you what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean connected to the Vatican. So that's what it doesn't mean that. Okay. This question has been addressed before. St. Cyril of Jerusalem, in his catechetical lectures, gives a wonderful explanation on what the word Catholic means in relation to the church. So I'd like to share that with your listeners.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. He says, the church is called Catholic because it has spread over the whole world, from one end to the other. Now, we'll say something about that. The church was Catholic before it went anywhere, because it has to do with the essence of the church, not just how it spreads. But how the church spreads everywhere is a manifestation of the church's Catholicity. But I'll continue. The church is called Catholic because it has spread over the whole world from one end to the other, because it proclaims comprehensively and without defect all the doctrines of the faith which we must know about the visible and the invisible, about heavenly and earthly things, because it brings the whole human race, princes and subjects, the uneducated and the educated, to the right worship of God. And finally, because like a doctor, it heals all sins which have been committed with the soul or the body. It also possesses every kind of virtue, whatever it may be called in action and words, and every kind of spiritual gift. So, to sum it up, the church is Catholic because it has the fullness of the faith, the fullness of the life, the fullness of the grace, the fullness of the medicine. Even the Apostle Paul says this in Ephesians. The church is his body, the fullness of him that filleth all in all. So when we talk about Catholicity, we're talking about the fullness of the church. And because the church has this fullness, it's valid everywhere. It's not just particular to one place. It's the faith of Christ, valid wherever you go. It has universality. One of the meanings of Catholic is universal.
So the problem that I could hear some voices in the background.
Okay.
They're going to say, well, Jesus is the fullness, and Jesus is around everywhere. But what this clearly is teaching, and so no matter if I'm a Protestant or evangelical or denominationalist or whatever, I could say, hey, I have we believe in Jesus. He loves us. We're saved, and we follow him, and we read the Bible, and we do all this. But the reality of what this is sharing is, in Catholic, it's having the correct doctrines, the visible and invisible, right? Church as well.
It's correct doctrine.
And the sacraments.
It's correct doctrine, and it's the right worship of God.
The right worship.
Because that's what the word orthodox means.
Yes.
It means literally right glory. The right worship of God. And that includes right doctrine, of course.
So there's a lot of problems with that as we become more modern. We're 2018. We're talking 2,000 years ago where the church started, right? The Christian faith, the Christian church. And it's a lot different now in 2018 than it was back in 2000.
But I will say
years
this.
ago.
Jesus Christ doesn't change.
He doesn't change.
He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And his faith has been once for all delivered to the saints. Our job is just to contend for it and defend it.
Amen. And
preserve it and live by it. But we don't get to vote new doctrines into the faith. It is what it is. Christ gave it to us, and we love it.
So I like this concept of the right worship, the right way. Do you believe that's the reason why so many who are becoming maybe challenged with seeing some of these denominations and how they worship It's, it's so, it could be so modern that it doesn't give that essence of the Spirit. It could be more of an event for many people. Whereas in the Orthodox faith, it looks like you're going way, way, way back in time. And do you think that that's an appeal to many people who are now looking at Orthodoxy and saying, maybe I should evaluate Orthodoxy because it seems like it doesn't change for whoever wants it to be changed?
Well, when you look at the worship of the church and you compare it to how worship was described by the early church fathers, it's the same structure. It's
the same setup.
We do the same things.
Yeah.
The Eucharistic worship of God.
Yeah.
When you read the scriptures,
and you have loud bands.
No. When you read the scriptures, in certain parts you get glimpses of the worship of heaven and what the worship of heaven looks like, and it looks just like Orthodox worship.
Wow.
With the chanting and the candles and the incense and the prostrations and the focus on the majesty and the glory of God and not on myself.
Oh, nice.
It's not entertainment. It's not a performance.
Yeah, yeah.
We're all facing the same direction toward the altar.
Yeah, east.
We're all facing east, worshiping God.
Yeah.
The priest, he doesn't say in his prayers at the altar, he doesn't say I, he says we. Because there's the apostolic priesthood, but there's also the priesthood of all believers, and we're all offering that sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving as one body together.
Got it.
Going into the Holy of Holies, you're actually stepping into eternity. You're stepping into heaven when you worship in the Divine Liturgy.
And I could attest to that. I mean, now that I'm Orthodox, when I first experienced Orthodoxy, when I came to it, and I went to a lot of non-denominational churches, and I saw how they worshipped, and then I came into this church, and it was moving. It was to the point where I was like, holy cow. I mean, I am feeling things that I haven't felt in other churches, especially with the Eucharist, the liturgy, the words, the a cappella music, the way the incense was put together, and realizing that this is an ancient church, ancient way, but as you claim, the right worship, the right way, right, to worship.
God was very specific about how he was to be worshipped in the Old Testament. And someone might say, well, that's old, dispensationalists might say, well, that's old covenant, that doesn't apply to us.
Yeah.
However, look at the worship of heaven in the book of Revelation. That's not old covenant. That's new covenant.
That's true.
And how are they worshiping in heaven?
Yeah.
So the church has and participates in that heavenly worship.
Good. Well, awesome. So that sets us apart differently than many, many other churches. Going from the ancient way, the right way to worship.
And that brings me to a thought that I wanted to share, but almost forgot.
Okay.
The idea of the communion of saints. The church on earth is united with the church in heaven.
That's a very interesting point.
There's not a break. When we worship in the liturgy, we're worshiping with all the angels and saints before the throne of God. There's this connection, this union of heaven and earth. That's not broken by death. Jesus Christ conquered death, and death cannot separate members of his body. His body cannot be separated by death because he conquered it.
And that's interesting that you're making that point. I remember Father Justin, he was sharing to me one day, and he said, there's been times years ago when he would be doing the liturgy or chanting or whatever it may have been at church, and there was no one there. And he said he would still do it. And I said, why would you participate and do that? He says, because there are angels around me. And I know that they are also worshiping in the same context and way as I was. We are all together from the heavens to the earth. I thought that was really profound when he said that.
And also you'll read in the book of Acts where it says that they ministered to the Lord and fasted.
Mm.
We minister to the Lord. That's who we're ministering to. And that the Greek word for ministry is the same word that we get the word liturgy from.
Mm.
If you look it up in Strong's, it's in Acts. It says they ministered to the Lord and fasted, and then that was right before they ordained. But I don't know the exact reference.
So as far as the worship, the Orthodox way, you contend, Orthodox Church worships the way the apostles intended for the saints and the followers of believers to worship. It's not like you're making it up. It's not like you're trying to change things to make people who are in your church feel better, more, equipped with the modern version of things. You don't care about that.
The way we know that this is the case is because we're worshiping according to holy tradition. So everywhere the apostles, the literal apostles, everywhere they founded churches, they worship like this. That's no coincidence.
That's great.